Hi, welcome back to MQ Sews. I'm Emma. Today is going to be the third episode in my Fabric Wheel of Fate, so hopefully that interests you enough to stick around. In the last episode, I spun the wheel and I was given this fabric by my Fabric Wheel of Fate. This was a seersucker fabric and I had about 2.5 meters of it, but it was a narrower fabric. Also, around the time that I spun the wheel, I was asked to pattern test a pattern for the Weekend Sewing Club. And for those of you who don't know what the Weekend Sewing Club is, it is a subscription run by Sarah from My Handmade Wardrobe, and I was lucky enough to test July's pattern before it was released to the club members. I'll make sure that I pop a link to the Weekend Sewing Club down in the description below. From having a quick look at the subscription website, it does look like membership is closed for the moment, but it will open up again on the 20th of July. So if joining a fun and interactive sewing group where every month you get a new pattern to sew with other members in the group, this subscription might be perfect for you. As part of your subscription, you receive a new pattern each month, fit advice, style inspiration, as well as styling ideas, checklists for equipment, materials and supplies, as well as lots of discounts and other member offers. You get fitting advice and customization hacks. There's a list of suggested fabrics for each pattern. There's full step-by-step instructions with photos and tutorial videos. And I think what makes this subscription pretty special is that every month they have a live sewing session. So all the members are invited to the live sewing session. It's a couple of hours on a Saturday and everyone gets together and can sew up that month's pattern. And I think the community that are currently members are really supportive and great. So that's just a little bit about the Weekend Sewing Club. The July pattern is this dress. I'll put a picture up, and I decided to make it up in my seersucker that the wheel chose for me, and here it is. So you can see that I've got buttons all the way down the front, and I'll make sure to put pictures in a minute, but I just wanted to show you, this isn't part of the pattern, but I fully lined the inside of the dress, and that was due to the fabric being slightly see-through, and you know how I feel about see-through fabric if you've been watching my channel for a little bit. I even fully lined the skirt. So that's my first raise dress, all finished, and I'll put some pictures of me in the dress up while I tell you a little bit about my dress. So as you know, I use seersucker as my main fabric, and I just showed you the cotton lining that I added. On my toile, I was having a little bit of an issue with some twisting happening under the arm and on the neckline when I tried to fold over the neckline edge. So by adding the lining in, I solved that issue that I was having for that. So that was a happy accident. I started with a size 5 based on my body measurements, and I tend to use my upper bust measurement when deciding what size will be best for me to make on any woven pattern, because that's the size that generally fits my shoulders best. I'm going to have to do a full bust adjustment anyway, but if I make a larger size, I often find that it's too big on the shoulders. So I make the size that fits my upper bust measurement the best, and then I do a full bust adjustment to ensure that the garment is going to fit, and usually the result are that I get a really good fit on both my shoulders and my bust. So bonus. So I did make some adjustments to the pattern. I included a 9.5 centimeter full bust adjustment. I lowered my bust dart, and I also added dart to the waistline. I'll try and show you on my dress. Here is the placket, here's the waistline, and you can see I've added a waist dart in there. The reason I had to do this was once I'd done the full bust adjustment, the toile that I made was quite loose under the bust, and I felt like if I attached the skirt, I would look like I was basically wearing a bit of a sack because none of it was fitted like Sarah had planned for the dress to be. So I added those waist darts in, and this fixed having excess fabric under my bust. And I think because of the way my bust must be shaped, I ended up having to remove some of the top of the pattern piece. I think I just must be quite short from shoulder to where my bust starts. I had to remove some of the height there. I removed 6.3 centimeters from that section, and I found the fabric on the toile was pulling a bit, so I ended up adding in extra room at the side seams. Above the bust dart, under the arm, I added 2.5 centimeters to the side seam, and on the lower side seam above the waistline but under the bust dart, I added 10.1 centimeters. That was to ensure the side seam sat straight when I was wearing the dress. I also added a little bit of length to the bottom of the pattern piece, and I added this at an angle. I added 8.2 centimeters at the center front and then tapered that down to only 1.9 centimeters at the original side seam, and followed that through to where my new side seam was after adding extra to the side seam. I didn't make very many other adjustments, but I did have to do a sway back adjustment, so I took out a wedge from the back panel here, and that was to make sure that when I'm wearing it, the dress sits straight across my back. I also should have used 27 centimeters in elastic in each of the elastic channels, but I actually only used 22 centimeters of elastic for each of the elastic channels. On my toile, I used 20, and I was like, oh, it's a bit tight. So I used 22, and now it's a little bit loose. So I probably would have been better off doing 21 centimeters, but I've written that down so that I know for next time. And you'll notice that on me, the dress looks like it hits quite high, but it's actually hitting me on my natural waist. I just have a really large bust and quite a short torso, and so it makes it look like it's hitting higher up than it is, but it's exactly where, if I was doing a teapot, that's where my waist hits. You'll see on some of the images of other people making this dress that their waistline looks lower, and I think if I'd used my lower waist instead of my natural waist, my dress would look more similar to other people's because I have a large bust. And the last change I made was inside the straps of the dress. I added a 1 centimeter ribbon, and that is just because this fabric is stretchy, and I think it's because it's seersucker, and I didn't want the straps to lengthen over time, and so I've added in that ribbon to help stabilize the straps. Ultimately, I really like this dress. I think it's really comfortable. It's a bit cold here in Melbourne to wear it as a sundress at the moment, so you can see I styled it with a long sleeve t-shirt underneath and my winter boots. But I also took a couple of photos with sandals, and I like how that looks too, but I was freezing. So those photos didn't come out as good as the ones where I was a bit warmer. Let me know in the comments what you think of my new dress, or do you think I would have been better off making something different? I'm happy with what I made, but I'm always interested to hear what you think I should have made. I can't believe that I only have 2 fabrics left on my fabric wheel of fate. Thanks, Carol, for creating this fun challenge. I can't believe that my first series is almost over, but I do have 2 more fabrics, so let's spin the wheel and see which one pops up. It's the flocked chiffon. I have never sewn with flocked chiffon before. I don't have any idea of what I want to make either. I have 2 meters of it, and as you can see, it's quite sheer, so anything I make you'll be able to see through. So because I knew that, I've also gone into my stash and found this pink fabric. It feels like a cotton. It's definitely a twill, the weave. It's definitely a twill, but it's got really nice drape. So because it's got quite nice drape, I think I'll use it as a lining for anything that I end up making if I need some modesty. I think that works really nicely underneath. It continues to make the flocked chiffon the hero of the garment. Hopefully I have enough of that twill fabric. I definitely got it from a swaps table because it's already been cut into and it wasn't by me, so I know that must have come from there. This flocked chiffon I bought a year or so ago, and it was from Spotlight. It was on the clearance table. I paid $12 for the 2 meters. If you have any ideas of what you think I should make, knowing that I have a perfectly acceptable lining fabric for underneath, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear your ideas of what you think I should make. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the like button and subscribe. But that's it from me. I hope you have a creative day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Oops, sorry if that made a noise. I tend to use